This is Nina Lockwood. Welcome to Get Your Happy Back. Stories and insights that will inspire you to find new sources of happiness in your own life. Hello and welcome to Get Your Happy Back. And today I have a wonderful guest, Jennifer. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Me too. Thank you.
And I don't normally do this, but I'm going to read just a snippet of Jennifer's bio because it's really inspiring. And besides, I can't keep it all in my head. So Jennifer is a certified special needs parenting coach. She's founder of the Logan Strong Foundation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting families facing childhood cancer and complex medical needs. So you already know she's somebody very special. She is also a dedicated AFLAC agent for over 12 years, and she uses her expertise to help families secure financial protection during medical crises. She's also the author of a book called Tiny Miracles, A Mother's Journey of Finding Faith Through Cancer in Childhood, her child's cancer, I should say. And she is on a mission to ensure that no parent or child is defined by their limitations, only their possibilities. I love that. What a journey it's been.
Yeah, been a long journey for sure.
Oh my gosh. So I start out by asking everybody what they or how they define happiness and getting their happy back. And I know you've had experiences on both sides of that fence.
Yeah, so for me, I feel getting my happy back is really balancing it all, right? Like because I do have so much on my plate and my son is obviously my main focus, but everything that I do really ties together and revolves around him. So getting my happy back, I want to say is self-care, right? Because if I'm not taking care of myself, then I can't take care of him or help others. But in helping others, that also helps me. So it kind of all kind of works together for me.
So you bring up an interesting point because self-care so often is considered a luxury
Mhm.
by a lot of people, and their first response, other than feeling the necessity to get a massage or a manicure, is, I don't have time. So
Mm.
how do you fit it in?
Oh my gosh. I think it's such a misconception that you don't have time, right? So for me, I get my nails done regularly. I get manicures, pedicures. I get massages at least once a month. Like I go to the chiropractor, like I do all those things. But if you break it down, it doesn't have to be something grandiose, right? Like for me, I get up at 4 a.m. every day. I journal, I meditate, I'm at the gym by 5 and I'm home by 6. So for me, that's my self-care. If I don't have my morning routine and I don't do what I need to do for my own mental well and emotional well-being, and my son and my husband get up, life can go sideways in a minute.
Mhm.
Right? So if I'm not taking care of myself or being proactive about taking care of myself, I can't in good faith help to take care of others because then I'm draining myself
Mhm.
and I'm less patient, right? I'm more irritable, I get angry easier. So I know that that's what I need. And I often get hit with, well, I can't get up that early. You don't have to. Get up 5 minutes earlier. Sit down with a cup of coffee and just breathe, right? Don't turn on the news in the morning. Just take time for yourself before life starts, right? Like before your day starts, because I know all too well that life can change in a minute.
Yeah. I think that's a real key. I'm so glad you said this because I think it's a real key to being happy, not in the sense of balloons and giggling and
Right.
wild laughter, but a groundedness, a stability. We don't, we have, I think happiness is a very misunderstood term or an umbrella term for really being able to be in the storm and yet be in the eye of the storm and not being spun by it.
Right. 100%.
So for those listeners who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your experience with your son and what you've gone through.
Yeah, so I got married late in life. I had my son at 40, so I was a geriatric pregnancy. Um, and he was born via emergency C-section because he had a brain bleed. The brain bleed after he was born did dissipate. However, it caused a tumor the third of the size of his head that he was diagnosed with
Oh,
at 3.5 months old. So I waited all my life to have a child. And at 3.5 months old, my only child was diagnosed with a rare brain tumor called a congenital glioblastoma. So it's the worst type of brain tumor you could have, but ironically at the best time in his life. So we spent the better part of 6 months living at Albany Medical Center. He underwent treatment for just about 2 years. We were told several times that he would never survive, never walk, never talk, never eat. He turned 8 in November. He defied the odds. Yeah, so it's been a journey. So the irony of our story is I work for Aflac. I sell cancer insurance for a living. I had the cancer plan on my son when he was diagnosed. And Aflac also sponsors their own children's cancer hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, that wrote my son's treatment plan that we were able to administer in Albany. And then fast forward to last year, we relocated to Atlanta for 3 months to that same hospital that has an intensive feeding therapy program. My son never learned how to eat by mouth. He was 100% tube fed since he was 6 months old. So we moved to Atlanta for 3 months last year. He left Atlanta eating 50% by mouth. And as of September this past year, he's now eating 100% by mouth.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a journey. So he, like I said, he's defied all the odds, every worst case scenario thrown at him. And then taking that break last year from the rest of my life, right? It made me realize that, I mean, I already knew that he was meant to be my son for a reason, but it just amplified the fact that like I need to help other people.
Mm,
So I recently became a certified special needs life quality coach. So my job is to empower and encourage other parents and caregivers like myself, as well as business owners, to help support those employees that are caretakers.
mm. And there are a lot of them.
Yeah, I doing research, 1 in 5 employees is a caregiver of some sort.
Mm,
30% consider caregiving a second full-time job. So there's a lot of us out there that wear several hats that we may or may not talk about it. And how do we support those people and help encourage them and empower them to do their daily job, right? To have their self-care, to do
mm,
things like that.
mhm. And what's the answer?
I said it before, it's finding time for yourself, right? It's making sure you're taking, it's the old cliche or the old adage, in an airplane, you put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. And it's so true. And I hear people all the time tell me like, oh, I don't have time for that, or I don't have time for that. And I think we underestimate the amount of time that we have in a day,
Hmm.
and we overestimate the amount of time that we have in a year.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So, if we had to get to the airport,
Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
we would do whatever it took to get there so we
Yeah.
didn't miss the flight.
Right. Right.
So we know how to establish priorities.
Yes.
And why do you think we don't?
That's a great question. I think we just don't have the goals, right? Because talking about getting to the airport, right? Like it's the same thing like when you go on vacation. Isn't it crazy how much stuff you can get done like the day before you go?
Right.
Like your productivity is so high the day before vacation because you're like, I got to do this, 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 and this, and then you just get it done. Um, Again, I think, I like to live by like the 5 second rule or the 5 minute rule. And it's really like, if I can get something done within 5 minutes, I'm just going to do it then and there, because then I procrastinate about it and then it doesn't get done.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I mean about people underestimate the amount of time that they have. Like It'll take you 5 minutes to empty the dishwasher. It'll take you less than a minute to wash that one cup that's left in the sink. Like, why do you keep walking by it? You know what I mean? So it's just,
Hmm.
if you see it, do it, get it done, move on.
I had an experience that really brought that home to me when we moved into the house that we're in now. We had bought the house with contents, and it was overwhelming. It it was every room, the garage, everything was basement, attic filled to the brim with
Oh
stuff.
gosh.
And so my godson, who was really brilliant at this, got very impatient with us, and he said, "Look, this is what we're going to do." He said, "I'm going to hold up an object, and you have 3 seconds to
Yeah.
say yes or no. And if you hesitate, it's going."
Yeah. I love that.
It forced us. And sometimes I think we need somebody at our side, and perhaps it's you and your
Yeah.
capacity to say, "Look, it's this or this. Which are you going to do?"
Yeah.
Because we have that natural tendency, if something requires effort
Yeah.
to that we don't quite want to deal with, to put it aside.
100%. And I think the other issue alongside that is, for me, a lot of that has to do with decision fatigue,
Oh, yes, good
right?
point. Yeah.
Because as a caregiver, all my patience I save for my son. All my decisions I save for my son, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, oh, what do you want for dinner? I don't know, just figure it out, right? Like, those things aren't as important as, is my son going to get treatment today or tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's that decision fatigue that kicks in when you have such mundane tasks. So for me, it's important. Like, on Sundays, I schedule my week, and
Yeah.
I meal prep. I do things that'll help simplify what my week looks like. So when I get to Monday morning, most of my stuff is ready to go. It's as simple as, like, when I go to the gym, I get my gym clothes out the night before, and they're in the bathroom ready to go for me to get changed in the morning. So it's just making things a little bit easier for yourself, spending that extra 3 minutes to decide yes or no, right? To do it will save, 15, 20, 30 minutes later
Yeah.
when you're in crunch time and you can't figure it out.
That's great. So, what, who or what was it when you first realized, or as you realized the enormity of the situation with your son? How did you come across the ideas to take that time in the morning and take care of yourself?
I can't pinpoint like the exact moment it happened, but I will tell you, like, I've always been into self-help book and self-improvement, the Brendan Burchards, those type of folks, Mel Robbins. I've always been into that type of books and reading and learning. And being that we basically lived in the hospital for 6 months,
Mhm.
I had to figure it out for myself.
Mhm.
Like, if it's just like, if you're, when you're in quarantine, right? You're in a room with four walls and you're like, okay, what can I do to mentally, like, make myself feel better? Like,
Yeah.
I blame my Starbucks addiction on Omni-Med, right? Because it was literally the only relief I had, right? It was like, I'd get a nurse to come in. Can you give me 20 minutes so I can run across the street to get a coffee? Right? So it's like little things like that. Like, but that's self-care.
Mm. Yeah.
Stopping for a cup of coffee on the way to work in the morning for an extra 10 minutes, that's self-care. I think we underestimate what that could look like. And I
Yeah.
just knew that I had to my son didn't know any different, right? He's 3 months old, fighting for his life. He didn't know any different. He only knew what I knew and what I felt, right? So I had no choice but to be that positive force in his life, because
Mm.
he didn't know any better.
Right.
So I would sit there and I would make sure that I was mentally prepared. And I'm very blessed. Like, I have a phenomenal marriage. Like, my husband and I work very well together. So if I was having a bad day, he would take over or vice versa. Like it just worked. But I would sit there by his bedside and just talk positively to him. Be like, "Hey, you're so strong. You got this, buddy. You can do this. Like I know you're not feeling good, but you're gonna get, like I just would talk through it
Mm-hmm.
with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's 3.5 months old. Does he understand what I'm saying? Probably not,
But he
but
gets
he
the
can
vibe.
feel it,
Yeah.
right? He can feel it. So I wanted to make sure that he felt that positive energy, that positiveness coming from me to
Yeah.
reinforce, like, hey, bud, doctors say you're not going to make it, but that's not going to be an option. So we're going to get through this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we did.
I didn't really expect the conversation to go this way, but I'm so glad it did
Oh,
because self-care is really, whatever we call it,
right.
is so important to be able to take a stop
Yeah.
and ask, what's the best thing that I can do right now, which is what you've been talking about
Yeah.
since we began.
Yeah.
And that certainly contributes to our happiness and well-being because otherwise we're just at the mercy of, excuse me, of everything that is coming at us. And as you are saying, if you're responsible for another human being, you can't really afford that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of times, like when he first was diagnosed, I remember I got really sick,
Hmm.
because your body just shuts down from all the stress.
Yeah,
And I had to remember to take care of myself, because if I wasn't feeling good, that wasn't good for me to be around him, right? Going through chemo,
sure.
but B, like, that's a negative energy.
Yeah.
So you have to know when to disconnect yourself from the situation, but I think it's also important to have that support system. Because without
Absolutely.
my husband, or my in-laws are retired, so they were able to help. So without my support system, I'm not able to do what I do. Like, my husband knows how strict I am about my morning routine. So if my son gets up before I'm done with my morning routine, my husband knows, like, this is the only time your mom has. So I'm going to take care of him. You finish what you're doing, because I have the flexible schedule. He's got a 9 to 5 job. So he knows that I'm the one that has to jump in the event something happens during the day. So
Hmm.
again, it's that relationship, it's that partnership that I have, that I'm so lucky and blessed for. That, unfortunately not everybody has that, but you can still try to find time and figure it out.
So, what do you recommend for people who don't have the kind of support system that you've been able to have?
There's ways to find that support system,
Mm.
right? There's caregiver support groups. There's, for us, there's programs like OPWDD. We have case managers. There's other people that help me help manage my son, right? It's not just a one-man show. And I think finding the right people to put in those spots, right? It's that old saying, like, if you make $100 an hour, but it costs you $20 to pay somebody to mow your lawn, right? You're going to pay somebody $20 to mow your lawn, because you know that your time is more valuable than that. And I know
Yeah.
that's a silly example, but it's so true. Like, is there anything you can take off your plate? Like, whether it be a family member or a friend, or uh, someone that takes care of your child at school. Like, there are so many opportunities out there for people to get the assistance, the help. It's just, the problem is you don't know what you don't know, right? And as far as it relates to a child, like, parenting doesn't come with a handbook, and special needs parenting sure in hell doesn't come with a handbook, right? So you have to figure it out, which I think is another reason I wanted to become a certified special needs life quality coach, because people don't know where to go. They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know what services may be available to them. Or I actually work with a couple of clients right now that just hired me because they just wanted somebody who gets it, right? They want somebody, like, it's one thing talking to a counselor or a psychologist, but it's another thing talking to somebody that's
Been
walking
there
in your
in the
shoes.
trenches.
Yeah. And it's like, I sit there and I'm like, yeah, I get it. It sucks. It really sucks. but sitting there and dwelling in the suckiness isn't going to make anything better.
Yeah.
I always say everything's figure outable.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned something earlier that I couldn't unravel, which was, and you'll probably have to spell it properly. It was an acronym, OPW.
OPWDD. It's the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. It's a state program. There's an application process. You get a case manager with it. Like that, my son's had a case manager since he was 6 months old. So a lot of people don't know that there's even nonprofits out there that don't even cost them anything that will
Mhm.
help provide that service to have a case manager to help manage their child. And
And
sometimes in the case of an adult as well.
and is that something that you share with your clients and the people that you work with, the availability of those programs?
Absolutely. If that's something they're looking for, absolutely. I will research and I will help them try to find it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'd love you to clarify something, which when you were talking about, you don't have time to have essentially a pity party.
Yeah.
How, I suppose you could think of that as tough love, but how is that also compassionate work where you're allowing someone, are you allowing someone to express it and then put it aside?
So I
Or
think
is it another process?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the person and the situation, right? Like there's and I share obviously everything I've been through. Like there's days where I'm like I throw the towel in. I'm like I'm done. I'm sitting on the couch, I'm watching a Lifetime movie and eating popcorn the rest of the day. Like I just need a mental break, right? And then there's other days where I'll lock myself in the bathroom, I will cry it out. You got 5 minutes, put your big girl panties back on and go deal with it, right? So it depends on the situation and the day and how you're feeling. Like it just depends, right? And it's really how that person manages it themselves. But I think on the flip side, as a coach, I want to empower them that either of those options are okay,
Mm,
right? If
yeah.
this is what you're feeling, you want to sit on your couch and eat bonbons all day in your pajamas, please do it. Or if you know there's a deadline for something, or your child has an appointment, go take 5 minutes, do some deep breathing,
Mm.
go go have a cup of coffee, whatever it is, and then deal with it, and then go sit on the couch and eat your bonbons and watch Lifetime all day. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it just
Mhm.
depends on the circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Can you tell I like chocolate and popcorn?
Me too. So over the years, now how functional, can I ask how
Yeah.
functional is your son at this
Yeah.
point?
So they said Logan would never walk, talk, or eat. He started walking when he was 4.
Mm,
He probably knows about 100 words. And again, he is eating 100% by mouth, but
wow.
he has a brain injury, so the tumor was a third of the size of his head. So they were able to shrink it in half and they removed it. So he's missing probably a third, if not close to a half of his, probably a third of his left frontal lobe is
Mm,
so that affects language development. I say personality, but it did not affect him. Memory, eating, things like that. So he's overcome it. He can't really have a conversation with you, but he can tell you like, I want iPad, I want snack, or he'll go to the refrigerator and get an orange and peel it himself. Like he's very independent, but it also has to do with, and the doctors will tell us like your son is here today because you and your husband. And it
mm,
has to do with the fact that I never wanted my son to have a disability.
mhm,
Um and there's a lot of hot topics in regards to that in the community, whether people like that word or not. I personally don't like the word. I feel like it's negative, but some people prefer that word. I say my son has special needs. He has different needs.
mhm,
He's got aggression issues. He has an autism diagnosis on top of everything. He's got bilateral hearing aids. He has a shunt in the back
Mm.
of his head to drain the fluid in his brain. He has self-injurious behaviors. So, he's got a lot of things that we monitor, but he's very independent. He's very vocal. He knows how to ask for what he wants or tell you what he doesn't want. So, but we also empower and encourage and help him to strive to be better and stronger.
Hmm.
So he also gets ABA therapy, which in previous years has been very controversial. It's applied behavioral analysis. Every time I explain it, I feel like I'm talking about a cop show. But it's basically in the easiest and not so great way to explain it. It's basically like training a dog to sit for a treat.
Hmm.
Sit, you won't get a treat until you sit. Sit, you won't get a treat until you sit. Similarly with this therapy, it's like, okay, you're not going to get your iPad back until you do this thing for me. And it can be very emotional and stressful. I mean, I know there was a day, one of the first days the therapist was here, she was teaching him, "What is your name?" "Logan." And I could hear him in his room crying. And it took everything in me not to go in there and stop. But wouldn't you know, at the end of that session, he knew his name. So I think it's controversial because some people don't like to push their children that way,
Mm. Sure.
and it's a choice. I don't use my son's different ability as a negative. I use it as, you're just delayed, buddy. Like, they said you'd never walk, you're walking. They said you never talk, you're talking. They said you'd never eat, you're eating. They said you never survive, you're thriving. So I use that as empowerment and encouragement to move forward. Now, there are times where if he is in a therapy session and I'm like, okay, you're pushing a little too hard, I will stop it. But for the most part, like, it's just like ourselves. We have to, right? They say progress happens outside your comfort zone. And I think that's the same thing when it comes to, for me, for my son, and maybe for others as well. Uh, You don't know what you don't know. And if you don't push past that, you don't know
Right.
what your abilities are.
Right. And really what I think what you're saying is fascinating. We don't really know what discomfort is other than we don't like it,
Right.
right? But if our shoes get too big or too small, there's discomfort.
Right.
And, normally we would know what that meant, but in as an
Right.
analogy,
Right.
we don't know that something better could be beyond that temporary feeling of discomfort because
Correct.
something is either unfamiliar or there's a certain amount of pain. And I say that with a caveat,
Sure.
but we have such an aversion to discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We're funny creatures.
Aren't we though? Well, and piggybacking off that, like another thing, talking about self-care, talking about discomfort, like, we're so strict as parents on our children having a schedule,
Mm.
right? They have their routine. You get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you make your bed, you whatever, right? And then same thing at night. You get home from school, you do your homework, then you can play, then you have to do your chores, and then you eat dinner, and then you brush your teeth, we'll do a bedtime story, and then go to bed. And then we become adults, and those routines fall by the wayside. So for my son, routine, that 2 hours delay we had last week threw him off completely. He had
Mm.
such a mentally difficult day. He was so aggressive towards me. But I think about it like, that's why I'm so strict with my morning routine,
Mm.
because routines
Good
work.
point. Yeah.
Routines work. And I think we can all learn a lot from our kids in that regard.
Mhm. You have really been able to extract the positive in this experience.
Yeah.
And whether we put that under the label of happiness, which I would, but it's just a different way of phrasing.
Yeah.
You are doing the best that you possibly can to make life for him and for you and your husband the best that it can be.
Yeah. Yeah. I say I don't have a choice. I mean, I guess I do, but that's just who I am. And I don't, do I have my moments? Do I have my days? Of course. But I don't sit in it. I
Mm.
can't because it's not healthy. And what does that teach my son? He was thrown the worst case scenario. And oof, I get choked up at random times.
Mhm.
And he is proving everybody wrong. And
Mm.
he even proves me wrong sometimes. And it's the most amazing thing. Like yesterday, he had a huge Saturday, he had a huge breakthrough. He got up too early. It's it's a blessing and a curse. My son has the same sleep schedule as me. But he got up way too early, and I said, "Okay, you can have your iPad for a little bit, but then you're going to go back to bed." So I tried turning the volume down on his iPad, and he did not like it. He kicked me, he hit me. So I said, "All right, I'm taking your iPad away. You're going back to bed." 10 minutes later, he comes out of his room, he comes into my office, and he says, "I'm sorry, mommy." Now, he's never done that before.
Wow.
He knows that if he's in trouble, like we'll go get him from his room and say, "Are you sorry? I'm sorry. Are you ready? I'm ready." And he did this totally unprompted.
Mm.
He knew he was wrong. And it's just like, it's having a special needs child makes little things like that enormous.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know what I would do with a normal kid. Like, I don't know if I could handle it. Like, how do y'all handle like all these baseball games and them talking back and like I don't know if I could do that. Like this is easy for me, you know? It's just one of those things. Like I used to joke and I still say it like I'm like, give me cancer any day of the week over the flu or a cold, because at least with cancer, I knew there was a regimen. I knew
Hmm.
that if he had chemo on this day, he would get sick this day and he'd be better by this day. But if you give me the flu or a cold, I don't know when that's going to last. I don't know when it's going to be over. I don't know how he's going to be, right? It's, funny, not funny, but it's just, that's the world I know. That's all I know.
Yeah. Wow. What would you say, or what do you say to your clients and the people that you work with who feel really stuck or unhappy because of the situation they're in?
I think we've talked about it. I think it's finding that one thing that you can do for yourself, or finding that one positive in the situation. They said your kid never walk. Okay. Well, what are you doing? What can you do to accommodate? Is is there a possibility? Or are they wheelchair bound? Like I have a client whose son whose child um is deaf.
Mhm.
Well, how do you communicate with your child? Do you have a PEX board? Do you have um do you sign? Like what are things that you can do together? You know,
Mhm.
and fortunately, yeah, unfortunately, certain parents have a number of kids. So, how can we make those other children feel special? Like what can you take positive from each child? Actually, one thing that I love, and I feel like I'm going on a tangent right now, and
No, you're good.
I hope I'm answering your question.
We'll
Um,
find out.
one of my best friends, what she does every night at dinner, and I absolutely love this, is they go around the dinner table and they say, "What was your favorite part about today?"
Mm.
And then that person answers, and then they pick the next person. And I think it's to that point, like find one thing that you can be grateful for.
Mhm.
Every morning I said I journal. I journal every morning. So I journal and then I write I am statements. I also thank the universe for the people in my life. I thank the universe for future things that I want to happen. And I write gratitude statements.
Mm-hmm.
I think by starting your day and ending your day with gratitude, even if it's just one thing, it could be as simple as you took a shower today. Good for you, right?
Yeah.
You woke up.
And you got up.
Your feet hit the ground. Thank you, God, for giving me another day. It doesn't have to be something grandiose that you're grateful for.
One of the things that I've found, and I think most of us have heard the value of maintaining a gratitude journal. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I've discovered recently is a companion to that, which is keeping a journal about moments of awe and wonder,
Oh, I love that.
because they take you out of your head. They help you feel connected to something much greater.
Yep.
And there's something very, there's something really wonderful.
I
As,
love that.
as you're saying, even if it's seeing a cardinal against the snow,
Yeah.
or some kind of a sunset that you like, how does that happen? That getting out of our usual sense of who we are and what we think we know.
I love that.
And I think it's a great companion, as I said before, I think it naturally leads to gratitude.
Yeah.
And as the many of the things that you've been sharing are also, I mean, the fact that your son has defied the odds,
Yep.
that's really awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that you are able to keep that energy. Yeah, and yes, of course, you have your days when
Sure.
everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Nevertheless, you get back up again
Yeah.
because you see the possibilities that are still available. And I love what you said about not defining people by limitations, but by their possibilities.
Yeah.
And that is such a, it almost sounds trite, happy thought. I mean, it's like, yes, we need that. We need to
Yeah.
believe in our possibilities, even when at the moment they don't seem
Yeah.
at all possible.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else would you say as we start to wind down here to people who are struggling with situations where their child has cancer or special needs and they are looking for something or someone for assistance?
A few things, and again, some of them do sound cliche. I think the first would be it's okay to not be okay,
Mhm.
right? It's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to feel defeated. I still have those times, right? And it just makes you normal. But what's not okay is to sit in it, right? And I just actually had a client the other day that was completely overwhelmed. They had like four different things happening at once. And I said, okay, what is the one thing you can do right now in the moment? What is your priority out of all those things? What's the one thing that you can take care of? And then once you do that, I want you to go sit down and journal and get all your feelings out,
Yeah.
right? I think it's so important. I mean, for me, journaling, like I know my day is not my day if I don't do my routine in the morning.
Mhm.
Like I feel off. And there's some days that it just happens, right? You got an early flight or, things happen. But I always say don't miss more than 2 days, right? Because then it becomes a habit.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think it's okay to ask for help. I think it's okay to be the squeaky wheel. You know, I, and that's, I think, one of the reasons as well my son, has survived and succeeded. I, I don't take no for an answer. And if I'm not getting the answer that I want, I'll look for it elsewhere. Prime example, we took our son to Atlanta last year for 3 months for that feeding therapy program. Medically, he was approved, but insurance didn't want to pay for it. So I fought for a good 3-4 months.
Wow.
And finally, the insurance company came back and said, you're right. If he's medically qualified for this program, medically approved, who are you to tell me that his insurance isn't going to cover it? And they did. So I wasn't afraid to, pardon me, but I wasn't afraid to be the bitch. Like, listen, this is my kid's livelihood, my kid's life. What do we got to do to make this work?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in the medical fragility world, right? They take what that person with those extra letters at the end of their name say to heart.
Mm-hmm.
The only
Yep.
difference between you and that person, that child's or caregiver's or person's doctor, is they got more college bills, right? So I think we have to remember that doctors are people too, lawyers are people too. I think at the end of the day, everybody just wants to do the right thing and be nice, but they also have a job to do. So it's to find that, I think you have to find that happy medium when you're dealing with that world to figure out, okay, where's that line and how can I cross it to get what I need for the person I'm taking care of?
Wow. Wise advice.
Thanks. Been there, done that.
Yeah, well, obviously,
Yeah.
you're very skilled at it.
Yes. Yes.
So, Jennifer Hendricks-Fogg, as we begin to finally say goodbye for the time being, where can people find you? Because I know you have such valuable
Yeah.
information and
Thank you.
experience to share.
Thank you. So I do have a website, jenniferhendricksfogg.com, and you can actually sign up. I have a monthly newsletter. There's some free downloads as well. Some nice workbooks that would be helpful for folks. We also have the loganstrongfoundation.org, which is the Logan Strong Foundation that helps families going through childhood cancer or other serious illnesses, and we can help folks anywhere. As well as Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can find me at Jennifer Hendricks-Fogg.
Sounds great. Well, thank you again so much for being with me this morning. I really appreciate it, and I'm so inspired by your story.
Oh, thank you, Nina. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. And for those of you who are listening or watching, thank you so much for being with us, and stay tuned for the next episode. So, bye for now.